Guys, what do you think about this incredibly realistic Kyoto garden? I've been to Kyoto many times, and I can tell you that literally every single Kyoto hotel lobby has a fucking weirdly illuminated rock garden where somehow there's like a lighting in the middle of the rock garden, but the light is coming from here, but the light is here. And then there's this giant fucking floating square like rock bench island with a secondary boulder on top of it, and then a fucking like bonsai tree growing out of the fucking rock. This is just classic traditional Japanese rock garden design right here. Anybody who's familiar with Kyoto knows this is exactly what a Kyoto hotel looks like. His job on post on Patreon for the people that support him on there. Yes, but I don't get any, you know, internet juice by posting on Patreon. Like, I know in the modern day and age, nobody fucking wants to be on Twitter. But this is the power of SNS. Tell people to support you on Patreon on your comics then? I do. Just start putting dicks on all your art and making it Patreon exclusive? That's true. You're right about that. Full version on Patreon. Standard operating procedure right there, boys. He lacks the soul of a not safe for work artist. It will never work. Fine. Here. Let me design a cute Japanese yurukara. Actually, the composition, I feel it should be like around here. My million-selling yurukara design. And now, let's go like this. Here we go. I'll be rich in no time. Let's make sure that this the bottom line of the yurukara properly suggests. Let's get some veins going in to imply that there's a lot of blood flow going into the bottom of its body. Damn. What a masterpiece. For every Hello Kitty, it's important to remember that there's like 500 local Yurukara Japanese characters that they tried to make a lot of money off of that failed spectacularly and have been forgotten. There's like a local Japanese merchandise character for literally like every prefecture and possibly like every other Japanese city. But only Kumamon is powerful enough to, you know, actually make money. That fucking psycho bear. The fillet of salmon character not good enough for you? Here's a real deep cut. Let's see, what was it called? Oh shit. It's such a deep cut that... Oh, is it because I'm not using the Brave search engine? I think that's why. I just had to change my browser to Brave because for some reason Microsoft Edge started shitting the bed recently. I will say this, despite how much we still like shitting on Google, and apparently the Google search engine has gotten way worse, it's still way better than every other option. I'm not sure why. So here's a good deep cut right here. This thing here. It was called Yawaraka Sensha, which is like soft tank. And they tried, I think in like 2010 or stuff, to be like, make it popular somehow, and they failed horribly. It was an Adobe Flash. 2005, yeah. Brave search engine sucks ass, to be honest. I always use Google instead. Yeah. Unfortunately, Google still has the best search engine. There's just no way around it. What did you dress up as? Did you get lots of candy? I did not dress up and I didn't even man the door. I fucking hate holidays and I don't want to participate in them. I'm not a child anymore, boys. Dressing up is fun. You should do it sometime. I did it. I was a child a long time ago, but I'm not doing it anymore. Participating in society sucks, and I don't want to do it. You'll understand too when you get older and become a angry curmudgeon like I am. I don't even remember what I was dressed up as on Halloween. I know one year there was a Calvin and Hobbes comic where Calvin says I'm going to be something actually scary, and he said a barrel of toxic waste. I was like, that's a good idea. Let's see if I can do a barrel of toxic waste. And I got a garbage can one year and like cut it out and was wearing that. But I don't remember any of the other years. That was probably my most high maintenance, most difficult one. But other than that, I'm not sure. Two kinds of millennial kids, Calvin and Hobbes kids and Garfield kids. I was kind of a Dilbert kid. For some reason, I was like fascinated with Dilbert when I was like 12 or something, because it was like a look into the horrors of being an adult and being in the working world before I had to be in, you know, actually get there. Probably because you were trying to decide why anyone finds Dilbert funny. I think I was being a hipster. One problem with Calvin and Hobbes is that I think a lot of the good parts of Calvin and Hobbes are more like in the zone of, as an adult, you're looking back on your childhood and realizing like all the important stuff was there in Calvin and Hobbes, but you don't really, like, it doesn't hit as hard when you're a kid. There's a lot of stuff that, a lot of media in America where it's sold as media for children, but it's really just media for adults buying shit for their children, which makes sense because kids don't have their own money. But like half of the jokes in Calvin and Hobbes, like, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand like noir version of Calvin, like opening the blinds and stuff like that. If you're like 10, you probably haven't seen any like black and white noir movies. Like, you probably only understand like 50% of what is going on in Calvin and Hobbes if you're a child. I feel like Japanese media is for children is more like media actually meant for children's consumption. Like, a lot of shit that's supposed to be for kids in America is just stuff for adults remembering when they were kids. I feel like the most obvious example of this is E.T. I never saw E.T. until I was an adult, but as an adult, I'm just like, this is Spielberg just like jacking off on his own childhood. Like, as a kid, I never wanted some ugly-ass, wrinkly, old guy-looking motherfucking alien hiding in my closet. Like, fuck that shit. I wanted cool shit as a kid. I just wanted to draw in its cartoony style, but abilities and focus said otherwise. Calvin and Hobbes might be using a cartoony style, but what's his name? Was it Bill Watterson? I can't remember the author's name. Is a top level artist. Don't let its style fool you. He's way, way better than you're capable of drawing. The easiest way to tell is the way he draws trees. Trying to find a good panel here. Here's an excellent one. The minimalist trees in the snow. This is the cover of one of the books, but it's super minimalist, and yet he's doing a good job of representing like a Midwestern winter landscape. So when I was in high school, I had a classically trained Russian art teacher, and she told me that the easiest way to recognize good artists was how they draw trees and how they draw hands. So just being able to like abbreviate and minimize various types of foliage to sort of give the impression of trees and bushes and stuff is like super high level difficult shit. And you have to like fully understand the subject to be able to do it. And I was just talking about how there's like parodies of noir in Calvin and Hobbes. That also shows those shots where it's just like all the shadows are in hard blacks. That shows that he has like really good understanding of how to depict lighting and shadows and stuff, which is also a very difficult skill in itself. Something that I couldn't do right now. Those kind of noir shots where you're just like making the shadows completely black. You have to have like such a good understanding of like what parts to make black, or else like the entire screen just becomes black and it becomes impossible to read. So it's no use. You'll never get good at drawing. We must give up. There's only one way to get better, and it's to use AI. which is why I'd like to offer you a great deal for Mid-Journey. Use code BAAL to get 10% off on your first month. I just like to say, as in terms of like I'm at like day 520 or something of jacking off to images of AI porn at this point, and I just like to point out that it still hasn't fixed hands. If you actually go through like even the most advanced, clearly the newest models are being used for some of the Pixiv artists, and they can do like really advanced shit by like scanning manga authors' works and stuff like that with like line weight and stuff like that, and then I'll actually take time to like check the number of fingers in every single panel, and like there's still like 6 fingers like half the time. I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? It's 2025, almost 2026, and they still haven't fixed the fingers, but I think it's time to just give up. You only have 1,000,000 more hours until you can draw Reze the way you want. Why would you want to draw Reze? Her boobs are small. I have no need for flat women in my harem. My Chainsaw Man harem. I have a tendency to draw women's necks too long, I think. It should be like half. Well, I guess it's not incorrect. Do you ever obsess over a mechanism that your imagined fantasy weapons would feasibly work? I do for some reason. No, I don't. Mechanics in fantasy mean nothing to me. The whole point of having magic is having to not explain shit like that. If you want to explain shit, you should be writing science fiction. I feel like that's one of the primary differences between science fiction and fantasy, is that science fiction nerds want you to explain shit more. I think people who write fantasy and like start their fantasy novel by going into like their magic system, like 30 pages of magic system bullshit, are horrible writers. Magic should be made up of like feelings. Feelings and fairy dust and shit. And every once in a while you can bring out mechanics, but it doesn't necessarily have to be consistent. You can be like, this school of magic uses this, and this school of magic uses this, and you're just like, okay, whatever. Feelings, as in when main character is feeling hot-blooded justice energy, his magic gets stronger. You have feelings? I don't have feelings, but my characters do. You want DBZ then? Most thing is DPZ. Hunter x Hunter, which has the most well fleshed out, well thought out battle and power system out of any shonen manga, and possibly any kind of like modern media, period, still is based on feelings. Because ultimately stories are about feelings, especially manga is about feelings. You're selling feelings. You're selling the experience of feeling something. The worst fantasy is just modern characters with modern psychology swinging around magic swords in a Disneyland version of history. Are you saying that my masterpiece, I got reincarnated in a harem universe where big boob girls like me because I have super magic powers, is a bad idea? I'll show you by selling 1 trillion copies. So the problem with fantasy writing is, like, the whole point of fantasy, I've actually been thinking about this a lot. Like, what is fantasy and what isn't fantasy? We can start from the argument of stage 1 being that isekai slop isn't actually fantasy. I would like to make this argument. Isekai slop is a power fantasy, but it's not the fantasy genre. Fantasy genre and sci-fi genre, they're sort of like the two sides of the same coin. The whole point of the genre is going to a faraway exotic place. That's the point. Because people can't go on journeys because they don't have time to. So instead you go on journeys of your mind. And part of the journey of the mind concept is you're going to, like, a far off place in a fantasy world where there's, like, different sights and different sounds and different way people think. But the problem with this is that you can't make it too foreign, because if it's too foreign, then, like, people won't know what the fuck's going on. Like, this is a real problem that you would also suffer from if, like, you went on an actual, like, trip to, you know, a different country, for example. If you go to, like, India and you can't speak shit, and then, like, you get swindled at the airport, you're probably not having much fun. Which is why people go and, like, travel to, like, Jamaican resorts and stuff where they can, like, you know, still talk to people in English and stuff. So when you're writing the story, you can't be like, okay, in order for me to explain this foreign universe, I have to spend, like, the first 30 minutes, like, explaining all these different systems and different language and cultures and stuff. It needs to be, like, not so foreign that, like, you can get the story to go move forward without having to explain a ton of shit, and, like, you can just sort of add a little bit of information as you go, but also foreign enough that it feels exotic and different. You actually explained that well. Hold up. Here's a great Tolkien quote, which I think is really all that you need. As I don't like Tolkien, but he understood fantasy. Here we go. Part of the attraction of The Lord of the Rings is, I think, due to the glimpses of a large history in the background. An attraction like that of viewing a far-off and unvisited island, or seeing the towers of a distant gleaming city gleaming in the sunlit mist. To go there is to destroy the magic unless new unattainable vistas are again revealed. So Tolkien here is combining both the concept of history and lore with, like, actual physical locations that you can't see. Or not that you can't see, but you can see, but it's off in the distance. That sense of adventure like going someplace. But then he also points out to go there is to destroy the magic unless new unattainable vistas are again revealed. So he understands that, like, when you actually explain the concept, or when you actually go to the location instead of looking at it from far away, it's no longer as magical, right? You get that, you no longer get the journey of, the sense of journey. See, this is just like, here you go. Let's make a dwarf adventurer on a hilltop. And then, like, you see crazy tower in the distance. Except it's like, it's barely visible through the mist, right? This is like the sense of wonder and the sense of adventure. This right here is fantasy. And then when you change the tower to from something that's magical to something that you can, like, kind of explain with long lost scientific technology, then it becomes sci-fi. Right here. And then you can combine that with the concept of lore. You give, like, the tower, like, the Tower of Dick Suck. And then, like, fucking Gandalf will be here and be like, Gimli, did you know? Did you know that the great Dick Suckians of 3,000 years ago, no one knows why they built this mystical tower that reaches the clouds and called it the Tower of Dick Suck. But they all disappeared mysteriously 1,000 years ago and nobody knows why. Some say it was because they were too preoccupied with sucking dick, but there are many theories on the matter. And you're like, oh wow, I wonder what the Tower of Dick Suck is like. But then when you actually get to the Tower of Dick Suck, it's just like, you know, a million automated Ona holes that suck your dick, and you're like, well, I guess that wasn't as magical as I thought it was, you know? So that's why Tolkien was like, okay, so once you get there, then you have to find the new, like, here's another fucking castle even farther off in the distance, and that's how the adventure goes on and on and on. So this, I feel like this is the core concept of, like, fantasy and sci-fi, is the desire to go to a distant place, to be able to journey. To be able to journey while still sitting in with your fat ass in your chair reading a book. So that comes to the question of, why isn't isekai fantasy? And I'm not going to say all isekai fantasy isn't fantasy, but I'm saying... So first we can say that the genre of isekai fantasy was actually a really well thought out, let's say, modification or invention toward the fantasy genre. Because I just said that if you make everything too foreign, then you have to spend all this time explaining stuff. So if you're gonna do things in a first-person narrative by having the main character someone that has our modern-day Earthling values, we're allowed to see the world from the main character's perspective without breaking the first-person narrative. You can be like, whoa, what the fuck is the Tower of Dick Suck? Do these people know what Dick Suck means? You know? Like, you allow the story to progress at the same speed of knowledge as the reader by having the main character be part of our world instead of the fantasy world. It makes fantasy way more accessible. So if you have, like, a serious fantasy world that you take the readers on a journey, even with an isekai main character, I would still say it's fantasy. But when it stops being fantasy is if the entire world that you're setting up is just, like, completely the same every single time, which at this point isekai does this. is that they don't try and make any kind of innovation. The goal of modern or like more recent isekai fantasy isn't to go on adventures and explore a different foreign world. It's to just get your dick sucked by all the girls that immediately love you, right? It's to be like, oh, I'm so fucking powerful because I have this magic. Oh, all the girls love me. Oh, they're gonna suck my dick. Oh, I feel so good. And that's it. Like, there isn't any real sense of adventure because half the time the main character is too powerful that they're basically fucking invincible. That's part of it. And half the time it's just like the author is incapable of writing anything complicated. Don't forget that you have to beat the Demon Lord. Yes. And that's Dragon Quest. You can blame Dragon Quest for that shit. Japanese fucking love Dragon Quest. Many fantasy stories are about people with different circumstances or heritage coming together to defeat a common foe. Evil is not the core of the genre. The point of fantasy is to use nostalgia for a time period or world which never existed to explore ethics and morality. We don't need fantasy characters with a hyperbolic or ironic sense of humor who have the same worldviews as your progressive friends or people who bullied you in high school. The point is to imagine. Imagine all the people. There's no point in escapism if the author can't write a world that you want to escape to. That's what it comes down to. And that takes quite a bit of skill. Everything in Isekai has no sense of danger at all, and the amount of dick sucking is off the charts. Almost as if they understand that there's value to be found in the struggle. So I think part of the reason why Isekai became popular is that just because Japanese people are tired. You have to understand that the old-ass Japanese salaryman that's reading his Isekai slop on his phone has been working for, 18 hours already. He doesn't want to read something where he has to memorize new fucking terms. He isn't like Tolkien. He doesn't have a fucking estate to sit in. He just wants to hear all the girls be like, oh, you're so cool, Mr. MC-kun. And then get his dick sucked, and that's it. I thought Isekai was mostly read by dumb teens. Men never really graduate from being a dumb teen, unfortunately. No, it's mostly read by tired salarymen. Light novels used to be read by dumb teens, I'm pretty sure. How long is Momiji's ponytail? I think Momiji's ponytail length changes depending on the video game. I don't think they had the physics to do Momiji's to have her super long ponytail in the Dead or Alive swimsuit games. But I think in Ninja Gaiden, her ponytail actually is yeah, it goes all the way down to her ass. I want to cuck Momiji away from Hayabusa, and then him be like, I never cared because I'm a ninja in the first place. What does Baal do for fun? Yesterday I didn't do any drawing and I played some video games and it wasn't very fun anymore. I think I've officially outgrown video games. They no longer provide the same level of emotional satisfaction that they did because I know that, you know, there's a limit to what I can do in a video game, whereas drawing, I have no limits. So I think we're getting to the point where we just have to draw all the time. No more fun allowed. I feel like when I'm in the delusional phase of playing video games where it feels like there is almost unlimited possibilities in all the shit that I can do. Like, I have the most fun playing video games, but I think we're growing out of that at this point. How big are her boobs? Her boobs are like face size. They're pretty fucking big. I don't know. I still don't like the body type that much. It's okay, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Until the new Neo comes out? Yeah. That's the big question, is whether I'm going to be taking my PS5 to Japan. I probably won't. It's so fucking big. If my PS5 was like the size of a PS4 Slim, I might take it to Japan. But it's so big that like it becomes a real legitimate question of like, do I want to be using suitcase space on something when I'm supposed to be like using all my time drawing in the first place? Alright, I need to stop like scrubbing this turd, polishing my rough draft turd. Speaking of delusions, shall we talk about LeBron? What delusional thing did LeBron say? Did he say that he read a book? I'd just like to point out that LeBron doesn't really reflect very well on the black literacy stereotypes when he walks around with a copy of Godfather, and it's obviously he hasn't read the fucking book, considering Godfather is like super simple and extremely easy to read. The delusion that he is the GOAT? Unfortunately, I think LeBron is the GOAT. Whether you like it or not. I've actually thought quite a bit about this, and I do think LeBron's the GOAT. I'd say he's definitely better than Jordan. I don't care how much people like Blazing Jordan. There'll be a while before someone else comes close to even surpass him. I could see Wembanyama being considered to possibly be the GOAT if he stays healthy, but that if is so large, I'm not willing to consider it. It was insane how LeBron could basically stay healthy for years and years and years, despite playing like 40 minutes a game and shit during his Cleveland and Miami years and stuff. Whereas Wembanyama plays like 20 minutes a game and he's already getting like blood clots and shit, so I don't think that's gonna happen. Every time Wembanyama like falls in a weird way, I'm worried that one of his legs is gonna snap and come off, so yeah, I don't really want to bet on him staying healthy. Speaking of GOATs, we have fucking Ohtani pitching in Game 7 of World Series tonight. I mean, if we're talking about GOAT moments, that could be like baseball GOAT moment right there. Unfortunately, I don't think the Blue Jays are going to allow him to actually like hit anything. They're going to intentionally walk him every time, it seems, but like there is a possibility that like we have Otani like fucking winning the game on the pitching mound and then also like winning the game in the batting box, and that would be like true GOAT material right there. BB into sports based. I don't really care about sports that much, but I'm willing to take a little bit of time to watch like playoffs and championship level stuff. You ain't gonna get me to watch the regular season at this point in my life. That shit is a waste of time. I cannot fucking be bothered to watch the regular season. Like, fuck that. Holy shit. Will you watch the World Cup next year? I don't know. I feel like the World Cup final episode was pretty good with Messi being crowned as the ultimate GOAT in soccer. I don't think it's going to get any better than that. If you think about it, like in the past, I don't know, 20 years of my life, I feel like we've had the best of all time in like a variety of sports. I don't think anybody's gonna argue that like somebody has surpassed Gretzky in hockey, but I think you could argue that we've had the best in NBA with LeBron, best in soccer with Messi. We without a doubt have had the best in sumo with Hakuho. Hakuho, I don't think anybody's going to debate that in the sumo fans. I think that's without a doubt the case, is that Hakuho is the best of all time. Tiger Woods in golf, Serena in tennis. Yeah, and then possibly Otani in baseball. Although that's kind of going to be up for debate tonight, depending on how well he pitches. Best in gaming, Forsen. Gaming is way more inconsistent than like actual sports. I think it's because the amount of time you play each game is much shorter than like a sports game. Like if you look at like Street Fighter or something, like each tennis match would last like, 2 or 3 hours, but in like Street Fighter or fighting games in general, like you're deciding this sort of tournament format of who's the best over the course of like each match between two people is like 3 minutes, right? So the Saudi sports washing has been a drag to see. What Saudi sports washing? I, for one, am hugely supportive of the country of Saudi Arabia, and I think it's great that they're supporting all our favorite entertainment pastimes, and I don't see why you would complain about such a great nation. Have the Saudis done anything questionable in the past? I have already forgotten, because I have been distracted by all the excellent esports content they have provided me. I can't remember anything about any, US weapons uses being used to bomb Houthi rebels and possibly civilians. No, sir, not me. The best in lolcowing, CWC. Possibly, there will never be another Christian Chandler. I can say that for sure. The internet is in a different place now, so... I feel like I have a tendency to draw bodies, women's bodies, to be too short, I think. Like, I don't elongate the rib cage enough. I don't squash and stretch hard enough. The animation concepts of squashing and stretching. I think it comes from my desire to draw boobs to be really big. And I'm like thinking in terms of, okay, the rib cage is from here to here. Yeah, the rib cage is definitely longer, I feel. You like short stacks is all? No. It's my anatomy is just, like, my understanding of anatomy is wrong, that's why. I haven't done enough gesture and, like, proportion drawing, that's all. It's my own fault for reading too much Mogutan doujins where the woman's body is like this. Is it Mogutan or Mogudan? Mogu something, I can't remember. Well, I have to take a piss. It's Mogudan. Whenever I see a Mogudan doujin in like 2025 and it's like new and he's still drawing the bodies in like the same way as like 2001, I'm like, my god, this shit is eternal. Oh, I have to take a piss. Be right back. Ugh. Ugh. Green tea makes me piss so hard. Ugh. Should Futa cock be veiny or smooth? I haven't seen a smooth dick in a long time, honestly. It's all veiny all the time at this point in the year 2025, I feel. How much green tea do you drink per day? I only drank like a few sips right now from a little cup that was sitting in my room that I hadn't, you know, cleaned out yet. And that alone was enough to just like caused me to have to piss immediately. So this is like the extreme hourglass shape. I'm looking at sketches of J. Scott Campbell. I've always been a fan of J. Scott Campbell, but I don't want to go like maximum level right here. I want a balance between the hyper... Like, this is too much. This is like Disney, except turned up to like 12 or so. Like right here. But this is like the American, like, Disney squash and stretch style, right? But I do want to be able to like, so I'm gonna try and like get it that far and then like tone it back a little bit is how I've been thinking about it. What happened to this type of art style? It objectifies women's bodies and you should be ashamed for liking it. Think about how you're hurting the self-confidence of all these 12-year-old girls by having unachievable female body types. These girls have no organs. They're powered by dreams and hope and horniness. I think it's fucking hilarious that the American, like, female self-confidence body epidemic is like, you have to be thin. It's like, no, how could that be? That's another thing I'm enjoying going to Japan, is that I don't have to hear that shit. If anything, Japanese women need to eat more. Like, for real. There are so many Japanese women that are not borderline anorexic, but actually anorexic, so... You don't need organs in the kitchen. People are always like, Disney princess has to get in the kitchen, but Disney princesses are princesses. They literally don't have to get in the kitchen. They have slaves to do that for them. So you've been popping off on Twitter recently? Yeah, it's not like I'm doing anything. I'm just doing the same shit. The internet is a magical place where you can't really control what shit is popular and what shit isn't. It's kind of random. You just draw the stuff that you're thinking about, and then sometimes it goes and sometimes it doesn't. not sure I know what I want to do with... So the thing about contrapposto is, if this goes up, then this has to go down, usually, if you're doing contrapposto. So if I'm making this go up, that means I should be making this go down. It doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it, you know, it works the opposite. Maybe I should just be like doing everything by like taking images of myself in the mirror. So I'm not sure doing like the blue line is actually that helpful. Maybe I just need to draw everything in the same line style that I'm going to do when I draw it. I don't understand the war against beauty or sexy character designs. Feminists won. At least they won enough. They were able to exert enough political pressure for pearl clutching corporations to temporarily decide that they can't have attractive females. Notice how attractive male characters didn't disappear, which shows you that it was just a feminist lobbying thing. I eventually think this will just swing back because, you know, they want to make money, so... I mean, we're in the process of it swinging back right now with, you know, Trump and shit like that. That's part of the seesaw, just going back and forth. BB, squish the boob a little towards the character in a chokehold. It's not a character in a chokehold. This head would be way too big if it was someone in a chokehold. Silence. They managed to infiltrate cultural institutions, only promoted those who agreed with them. It doesn't help that most cultural institutions are heavily left-wing in the first place, so this is more of a right-wing problem than a left-wing problem. American conservative right-wing people, and not even American in general, just conservative right-wing people, just by definition, are incapable of being creative, it seems, and it's always been that way for a very long time. So it's kind of unavoidable that these cultural institutions end up being full of left-wing people, but then as a result, they become very vulnerable to this kind of, like, you know, insidious feminist influence, thus robbing us of our boobs. My favorite hentai artist is a housewife who went giga thin after giving birth, 160 centimeters, 38 kilograms. She posts herself on cosplaying Tanya the Evil on Twitter. Japanese women, well, maybe that's not Japanese, but Every anime character is like listed at 40 kilos or something, or below 40 kilos. It's kind of ridiculous. Tanya the evil, that little crazy bitch. It's ugly Oji-san wants to be a cute loli and then do military otaku shit in his isekai. If we're talking about isekai stuff. Most of her dojins are of Tanya and another tall soldier's glasses guy. I must admit, once a character reaches a certain level of lowliness, I have no interest in them. This means I'm a normal man who is not attracted to prepubescent features. If we have any lowly girls in chat, I'm sorry, but I don't care. You know, everyone here is an uber hairy guy. There is always the possibility that... How many viewers do we have right now? 43 viewers. That one out of the 43 viewers is a cute loli who is too afraid to announce that she's a cute loli because she knows that you would all get immediately horny and sexualize her. You sick fucks. That's enough fake AI generated jazz for now, I guess. Oh shit. We even have a, we have Japanese YouTubers talking about my Twitter shit.
あの時刻では冴えないオタクたちが日本旅行したら日本人の考えるアメリカ人に変身するやつやろ。
I like how the black guy dick is censored, making it even more inappropriate.
今回は冴えないオタクたちの方にフォーカスが当てられていたのよ。その中でも特に不女子、いわゆるナードガールに注目。
Why did that pop off? People are horny.
デカチチカウガールに変身する前の女の子やろ。なんでまた彼女がピックアップされたんや。ことの発端はとある日本漫画家さんの X の投稿なの。
我々は外人トランスフォームの必要性を全く感じません。そのままで最高です。
彼のこのイラストが国内外問わずバズっていたんだ。日本人は変身後のデカチチカウガールより変身前の方が好きということが海外に知れ渡った。
You made it, bro? Yes, I'm gonna be so rich now.
ただの思考の話やんか。確かにそのままのナードガールでも需要は高そうやけども。
That's one ugly drawing. Screw that guy. He likes women that have like fat. But most of the people who make her super skinny.
イエスイエス。彼女は空から舞い降りためっちゃ女神だ。ありがとう。めっちゃありがとう。彼女はめっちゃ美しくてめっちゃセクシー。なんてこった。
日本人の奇抜さを決して過小評価するな。
私だけが彼女を好きなわけじゃないと分かって安心した。海を越えても 人々は真実を知っているようだ。
わらた興奮しすぎやろ。
Mid chub is good? Nah.
近年欧米でもナードガールはかなり人気あるんだ。よく海外ネット民たちの間でバズっている投稿を見かけるしね。海外も日本もネット民の本質って変わらないんやね。とまあここまでは
All I understand is Nippon.
このイラストのとある部分に外国人たちは激怒していたの。ここは直すべきってね。 また西洋のフェミさん団体とか出てきたんか。
下着からはみ出した手入れされていない陰謀を追加すべきだ。
彼女はかなり可愛い。
The pew people show up.
これは素晴らしい芸術作品ではありますが、彼女が反り上げてツルツルになっているのを見るのは悲しいです。
などと毛を追加しろコメントが多数寄せられていたんだ。おいなんやねんこれマジで。海外紳士たちよ、日本人を超えるな。 これにはイラストを描いた日本の漫画家さんもこうツイートしていたの。
腰が大きいのはなんでは言われると思ったが、彼女の自由のために毛を生やしてやれは想定外だった。
The pubis? Do you think the pubis and excuse me, my mind is going blank. Pit hair. Pit hair people are the same.
このイラストは個人的にめっちゃ可愛いって思ったね。ネーミングセンスがキャッチーでキャラデザも日本人受けしそう。英語で吹き出しもあるけど。
Is Bush the norm in Japan, or was I lied to by my JAVs? I don't know. I haven't had sex.
アメリカンナードガールちゃん。この漫画は日本語に訳してくれていたから紹介するね。
Some people just want a bunch of hair stuck in between their teeth. These YouTubers sound like yukuris. Yes, Japanese people hate having their own voice in their YouTube videos, so they always fucking use these variations of yukuri Vocaloid shit. I like Zundamon as my Vocaloid. Are we ever actually going to get Dragon Quest 12? I'm thinking probably not, sadly. I don't have much confidence, guys. I also haven't finished 11, so... Now that I think about it, I've literally finished only one Dragon Quest game, and that's 8. And I enjoyed finishing 8, but... Man, I just don't have time. Dun dun dun! Dun 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 dun! I never played Dragon Quest. Which one do you recommend for a first playthrough? 8. Probably. Definitely not 7. That's like 100 hours. Dun, dun. "11 is really good." 11 is good, but I don't know. 11 has some of the things I don't like Dragon Quest. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I like my role-playing games to seem like they're depressing, but actually be like uplifting and positive. And Dragon Quest is the opposite. It seems like it's uplifting and positive, but it's actually depressing. Anybody who's actually played through like a full Dragon Quest scenario knows there's always like depressing shit. Like, everything's, like, cutesy and bright, and then it's like, and then everybody died, LMAO, and you're like, oh. That's not very helpful. Dragon Quest 9 is peak. I don't want to play shit on my DS though. I'm not a handheld gamer. I never enjoyed... The only games I've enjoyed playing on my handheld are stuff like Etrian Odyssey, where the handheld like actually has hardware meaning. I fucking love Etrian Odyssey. Can we ever get some more Etrian Odyssey like on a actual console instead of a handheld? That's what I want. Like the opposite of 10. I don't know, like, my first true RPG experience was Final Fantasy VIII, so I always kind of go back to Final Fantasy VIII and what I'm looking for. Final Fantasy VIII has a lot of, like, Doom-related imagery, but at the end of the day, everybody, it's a fucking full-on happy ending. Even Chad Thundercock, aka Cypher, gets his fucking happy ending. Thanks for the Prime sub, Jude. Final Fantasy VIII is not it. No, you're not it. I will argue this all day. Final Fantasy VIII is one of the great RPG accomplishments. Whether the actual Square team was actually, like, responsible for making it a great video game is questionable, but the outcome is undeniable and it's amazing. Final Fantasy VIII fucking sucks ass. No, it's a great fucking game. You just have to adjust the difficulty yourself and not, like, get over-leveled or overpowered by having too much magic junctioning. We all grew up in the same orphanage, but we all conveniently had memory loss about it. The memory loss contributes to the one of the main reasons why I say it's one of the great RPGs of all time in the Rinoa equals Ultimisia theory. If the writer was actually planning it, it would be insane writing job. I don't think they were, but there's a possibility they might have been. It's a possibility that it was like a multi-writer team, and as a result, like not everybody was actually understood why some things had to be this way, but the memory loss angle is kind of required for Rinoa to be Ultimisia. The music is Uematsu's worst. He was burned out, as he publicly stated, which is why he had to go on a trip for inspiration to do Final Fantasy IX. How the fuck can it be Uematsu's worst when it has tracks like this? Because you said that, now you all have to suffer with me. We're all gonna have this in our brain for the next 20 hours. And now that you've heard it for a minute, you can hear it for the next 5 days. Song's good, just heard it too many times. If you start playing Triple Triad in Final Fantasy VIII, you're basically making the game too easy. Once you start, you know, disassembling cards and junctioning that shit. Again, how can you complain about Final Fantasy VIII soundtrack when it has all-time classics like this? The PlayStation era Final Fantasies are like the base bone of my entire creative output. So no matter what you people say, that you like them or don't like them, I don't fucking care. I'm just gonna say you're too simple-minded to understand how great they are. Fucking plebs. The whole draw system is so fundamentally flawed, no matter how you use it, it just makes the game worse. I don't care about the gameplay. I'm here for the rest of the experience, like the atmosphere. Look at that fucking logo right there. The other Final Fantasies, it's like a fucking meteor. Or like a fucking crystal. No, Final Fantasy VIII, it's literally this hot Giga Chad and his girlfriend nuzzling herself inside his comfy, fluffy jacket. How can that not make you feel anything? You could say that my belief in that stories should, in general, be happy endings comes from Final Fantasy VIII. Chad and Stacy gross, except that Chad is like incapable of having a proper conversation. He's just like me for real, except he's extremely cool and has a cool sword and is extremely good looking. If you think about it, pretty much all of the Final Fantasies are Chad and Stacy's stories. It's questionable whether Cloud is a Chad. If we're just starting from PlayStation games, Cloud might or might not be a Chad, but he's definitely good enough to pass as a woman. He looks good enough. Squall, Chad. Zidane, Giga Chad. Tidus, Omega Super Giga Hyper Chad. Balflare, Chad. Vaughn, also Chad. They're all Chads. Gunblade was silly as fuck though. Gunblade was cool. You guys don't know because you weren't alive at the time. You're only like a year older than me. I was at prime Chuny age. I was literally Chuny in my second year of middle school when Final Fantasy VIII came out. Trying to convince me that shit in Final Fantasy VIII isn't cool is like trying to convince like a 13-year-old right now that Demon Slayer isn't cool and original. You're not going to be able to do it. You're gonna be like, actually Demon Slayer, all its moves are stolen from other shonen properties, you don't understand, it's not cool. A 12-year-old doesn't fucking care, he thinks it's cool. And I think Final Fantasy VIII is cool and it's a fucking masterpiece of storytelling. I think the boobs need to be larger. No matter how much you guys disagree with me, I'm right and you're wrong, so there's nothing you can do about that, I'm sorry. That's just the truth. Some might claim nostalgia. No, I've been replaying Final Fantasy VIII recently. On my CRT TV. And it's still fucking awesome. And the junction system still fucking sucks, and I don't care. Dun dun. Chrono Cross never... I played Chrono Cross in real time when it was new, and it never really hit me. I just didn't like the art design. Art design is everything for me. If the art design sucks, I don't give a fuck. If the art design is good, I can basically forgive everything else for the game. I will tolerate absolute trash game mechanics if the art design is good enough. You play any of the older Final Fantasies? No, because I didn't have a Super Nintendo. My mother tried very hard to prevent me from playing video games, so I didn't have access to video games until like a certain age. I tried playing them on the PS1 because there was like a collection that came out, but by the time I was too used to 3D graphics, so I couldn't go back to 2D. I was basically robbed of my 2D period, unfortunately. You can blame my mother for that one. Alright guys, I'm gonna end the stream here. See you around, boys. I'm gonna actually have to try and do the line work. See you around, boys. Good night.